In this lecture, we will learn how to manipulate and create a menu in the toolbar. So far, we have not touched the toolbar, so this will be something new to learn. So before beginning, let me start with the demo of what we have developed so far, and I will explain you that what functionalities do we want. So far, as we see that there is nothing that we are doing in the toolbar. We are clicking here, we have set up a calendar, we can now pass the date back, we are using the recycler view to see multiple items, but there is nothing on the toolbar. So we will like to manipulate the toolbar a little bit so that we can directly add a report here, and we can also move back from the toolbar itself. So this is a new functionality which we will be learning today. The toolbar component was added from Android 5.0, and we would be using a library called AppCompat for this. You may already remember that we had already added AppCompat support because we were needing it. So in the app module dependencies, you can see that we already have the AppCompat. So we would not need to add it again because it is already there, but this is what we need when we want to add the toolbar functionality into our program. So let's get started with adding some new code. We would also be adding new styles, new themes, something which we have not done earlier. And as you already know that in your REST folder we have something called styles.xml. So earlier I had shown you just to create a basic style file, and now basically I will be showing you something more into the theme and in the styles in this program. So before moving further, please check that you have set it up as the default. So the default is this dark action bar theme.appcompat.light. So now we will move forward from this, and let's first go to the something which we have not yet changed at all as the as our single fragment activity. Earlier we were doing it extends fragment activity. Now let's remove that line and make it extends app compat activity. If you see that when you by default when you create an empty activity or a blank activity using the Android Studio, then it always start with extends app compat activity. So that's we are just going back to that part. And similarly, we will go to our report pager activity that we were doing earlier, and we will also be changing it to app compat activity. App compat activity. So that's it. Alt enter. So everything is fine. So yes, so before app fragment activity is now no longer needed. So this is all okay. And now we want to run our application one more time before moving forward. So one immediate change that you see is that now we are seeing a toolbar. So earlier we were not seeing it, and now we are seeing it. So that's an immediate change, but we are not happy with it. We want to put some menu item on this toolbar. So we want to create a menu on the toolbar. So let's move forward. So let's first create some strings for our new menu. So yeah, so after this I will just copy one of these because it makes it easier for me to modify. So I will say first name is new report. I will call it new report. I will again do a new one. I will say show subtitle, create it as show subtitle, then we do another which we say hide subtitle, hide subtitle, and one more which we call as subtitle format. And watch here carefully. I'm giving it as percent for dollar reports. So I have given it, and you will see this value being used very soon. So that will explain it, and I will come back to it when we use it. Okay, now the next step is to define the menu in the XML, and we will be going to our REST folder again, and we will be creating a menu there. So let's go to REST folder, and this time we want to create a menu. So the first thing that we will be doing is to create an Android resource file of type menu here, and the file name we will give is fragment underscore report underscore list. You see that the resource type is menu, the source set is main, and the directory name is menu. So this is the one, directory name is menu. So it will be created under /res/menu. So far we don't, so yeah, so we have already got, so we have as you see, we have already got the menu here. So this was not earlier, now we have it here. So this is the menu that has been just created by doing this. Now let's go. This is how the text looks like, and this is how it looks like. So far there is nothing here, but we have created some strings, and we will soon be making use of it. So now let's go into the text of it. This is fairly standard, but we will be adding few more things here. So number one thing that I would be adding is XMLNS, another namespace app equal to http android.com/apk rest auto. So I have added a new namespace because I want to use some things which were not earlier available to me, and what it is making available to me is that you will see soon is item, and in this I will do Android ID because we would definitely like to use it @/id, call it menu underscore item underscore new underscore report. Then we do Android icon, and we do /Android drawable. uh, Let me choose something here. So I will just call it IC menu add. So I'm using something which is already available with Android. Then I go to Android title and I call my add string which we just created uh, new report, and then I go say app show as action equal to if room with text, and we close that. Oh, sorry, there's a typo here. Show as action if room with text. Now this show as action attribute refers that whether the item will appear in the toolbar itself or in the overflow menu. So we have put two values here, if room and with text, which means that the item's icon and the text will appear in the toolbar if there is enough room, but if it is not enough room, there is room for the icon, let's say, but not for the text, then only the icon will be visible. And if there is no room for either of them, then the item will be relegated to the overflow menu. So this is just an indication to where the icon etc will appear. Okay, so now let's try to maybe run it once and see what happens. So when I run it, as you see that currently nothing is happening because we have to add more code. So let's first keep on adding more code and then see what happens here. So yes, let's go back. Before moving forward, let's discuss this a little bit. So here we are adding an icon which is already available in Android system, which means that this is something which Android device is carrying and you need not to include in your project by yourself. However, the risk that you run here is that this may be something different on different devices. So if you do want to create your own icon, the one possibility of doing it is into go to your S directory, go to the drawable folder, right click on it, go to new, and then go to image asset. So let me enlarge and show it to you more clearly what I must need to do. So go to res, drawable, right click, new, image asset. When you click image asset, the Google opens you what is known as Asset Studio. So this is the Asset Studio of the Google of the Android, and here you can see that what you have chosen. So for example, we had chosen something like so this icon you are already familiar with. We can now manipulate it a little bit here. We can also choose something different. For example, here we were choosing IC underscore menu underscore add. So let me type that IC underscore menu underscore add. We go next, and this is showing us the directories. We are not that worried about it. So if I press finish, it will put this particular icon as my new IC menu underscore add, but I don't want this. I want something else. So I go to the clip art. I go to the clip art option here, and the only thing that I want is just a plus sign. So as you can see, all the familiar Android icons are available here for you. So I just need a plus sign. So I click on all, and I okay. So here's a plus sign. So I will add this plus sign, and this is fine with me, and I will say finish. Now when I say finish, my Android has created in the drawable something called IC menu underscore add, and hopefully that now should be available for me. So I'm just trying to locate it. So let me see if Android can find it or not. So it still cannot. Let me try it one more time. So new image asset, I can type action bar, tab icons, notifications icons. There are multiple types here, and so we choose action bar tab icons. I give IC underscore menu underscore add. I go back, I click on the clip art, go to all, select the press button, source asset. I am now seeing the output directories. Okay, the main variable. Okay, this all looks good to me, and then I am pressing a finish. Yeah, so this time, as you see, that I did it correctly, and I could now see that new directory has been created in the drawable and my icon has been added. So now I need not to depend on the Android system. I know exactly how my icon will look like, and see, our error is also gone. So this is the icon we selected. So that's the icon which will appear in the menu toolbar. So let's move forward, and now let's create our menu. So we have already added all the required thing. Only thing that we now add is to inflate that view. So let's go to report list fragment, and let's override another method called on create options. So after the here we will override another method called on create options. So public void on create options menu. That's the method that we want. We give it menu, give it menu inflator is what we are looking at. Menu inflator, we call it inflator. Uh, we go. So as usual, we call the supergate on options menu inflator, and then we will inflate our own layout, our own XML that we just created. So our XML was r.menu.fragment report list, and we want it in the menu. Yes, so now we save the code. So we are now calling to inflate our menu that we created. So we had created it in this, so that's what we are calling to be inflated. Now we could have done some other things by calling other methods like set has options menu, etc. But let us see for the time being. The one thing which is left is to to call to another method called set has options menu. Why we need this method is that the fragment manager that is responsible for calling fragment dot on create options menu, which we just overrided, and when the activity receives its on create options menu callback from the OS, we must explicitly tell the fragment manager that our fragment should receive a call to on create options menu, and this explicitly telling the fragment manager happens by another method called set has options menu. So we will be adding a call to the set has options menu in the on create method actually. So far we did not write the on create, but now we need to override on create first. So on create bundle saved instance state, and then we have super dot on create saved instance state, just the regular call to super as we follow as a policy, and then we call our methods to fix everything. So yes, so now we have done everything. So that set has options menu will be used uh, to tell explicitly to our fragment manager that our fragment should receive a call to on create options menu, because it is saying that the fragment has something in the options menu. Okay, so now let's run our program and see what changes happen. Ideally we should now see our icon. So as you can see, now we see our icon here. Currently it's not doing anything, but soon it will. So now our icon has appeared, so that's good. Let's move forward and add some functionality to our icon. So just before moving forward, let us run it again, because we wanted to also check another thing, which is that where is the title of it. So let's see. So if I press it enough, then the title comes in. Now this was what we were referring as if room. So if you remember that when we were setting the menu, we were saying if room. So because there is no room here, so it is not showing with the text, it is only showing the icon. But if there is a room, let's try the landscape mode now. So now it is also showing the title. So let's go back and keep adding some code so that we can see the menu that we want to create here. So let's go to our report store and start adding some code here. So first I'm going to add is a public void add report, because we want this functionality. Report r, then we'll say m reports dot add. Okay, so we have added a method called add report, and now earlier we were doing a random addition in the by using a for loop. So now we won't be doing the for loop, because now we have the functionality for the user to add a report. So let's remove all that and write some code here so that the user can add the report. Now once we have removed it, we have to understand the workflow. What we want is that the user presses the plus button, and then the user is asked to put the report details. Now in order to enable it, the way we use the Android system is that whenever the user presses an action item, the fragment receives a callback to the method called on options item selected. which takes menu item as one of the parameter. Now this method receives an instance of the menu item, and that item describes the user selection. So we will have to implement this method called on options item selected, and then hopefully when the user presses the plus sign, we should be able to work out and give the user an option to enter the details instead of the for loop that we have written here. So currently our menu has only one action item, but Android provides us the opportunity that even if the menu has more than one item, we can check the ID of the menu item and can do the required work. So let's move forward and add some code into our filed report list fragment. And basically what we are going to do is that after this, we will also implement a method called on options item selected. So let's override again and implement another method called public, and this returns a boolean on options item selected menu item. So because there could be more than one menu item, we will have to do a switch statement to get the item ID. Get item ID, this is an integer. In our case currently we are only adding an item, so that's not a problem. So r dot id dot menu item new report. So what happens when the user presses the menu item new report? Well, basically whatever the code we have added in the for loop, we are going to add it here, but this will make more sense because now we are adding valuable reports, not just random reports. So report store dot get activity dot add report, and we are once again back to the kind of code that we have developed multiple times. Equal to report pager activity new intent get activity report dot get id. So that's it, done true. We don't have any more cases here, so we will just add a default which is nothing but return super dot on options item selected item. So with this code we should now be able to see some action when we press the menu item button. So let's run our app and see what happens. So the first thing we see is now there are no reports because we have removed the for loop, but when we press the plus button, we have something here, my first report, and I can say currently I am not giving any details. Let's just keep it with the title. Let's go back and we can see that our first report is selected. Let's choose a different date and everything is actually working. So yes, so and I can add another and I can say my second report, and this, that's fine. So now we need not to generate the random report, we can just generate some very useful reports here. Okay, now so far we have been using the back button to go back. That is for the navigation, but the back button, using the back button is kind of a temporal navigation because it takes you where you were last. It is not really related to what you were doing. It is in your activity, what you were doing in your activity. It just takes you where you were last. And what we want actually is, what we actually want is that we want to move up. So we want to say, hey, we were doing activity 1, then we came to activity 2, and now we want to go back to activity 1. Now this is something what we call as hierarchical navigation, because if we want to move up, then we want to say, hey, look, from activity 1 we came to the activity 2, now we want to move back to the activity 1. So the hierarchical navigation, unlike the back button navigation, takes us up in the app hierarchy. So let us try to see that how we can make the use of the hierarchical navigation. You have already seen it in some of the Android applications that you may have used, but today we will see how to develop your app with hierarchical navigation. So the one thing that we need to define in the hierarchical navigation is by changing the manifest file. So let's go to the our manifest file, and if you see our manifest file, we have something called a report pager activity here. And all we need to do is to give it uh, another attribute, which is Android, let's call it parent activity name, and I will say that the parent activity name of report pager is the report list activity. So the moment I do this, I can actually see a change in my app. So if I run the app now, you will also see that change. So let me run the app. So there's no change here. Let me press. So now you see that there's a back sign on the toolbar, because this is my report pager activity, and I press the back, I go back to my report list activity. So that's what we enabled by just doing one change in the manifest file. Now for our given example, there is really no difference, because we are moving the hierarchical way and the back button way to the same activity. That is because in our current application, the report pager activity is one level down than the report list activity. However, using hierarchical navigation, actually you may move up multiple activities, as you can imagine. So the way hierarchical navigation works is that when we press that navigation button, an intent is created, and then this intent has a flag called flag activity clear top, and this may then remove some of the in-between activities that you may have done to directly reach to the parent activity. So so the hierarchical navigation is very different than the back button navigation in the background, though currently for this example it looks same. So now we have learned some basics about creating toolbar buttons. Now let's continue our learning and learn something advanced here. So what we are going to learn is that we will say, we will try to toggle some of the action items, and we will like to add more action items. So let's move ahead, and let's first add something more into the our menu. So far we had only one item. Let's add one more item. So I will just copy, and I'll just copy, and then I will say, what we did earlier, the show title. Just show underscore title, show subtitle. Subtitle was the menu that we had created. We don't have an icon for it, and the string resource was I know show subtitle, and then we are just doing if room. Okay, so now we have added another item into our menu. So this subtitle will display the number of reports that we have in our program. So let's create a new method which will update the subtitle. So let's go to report list fragment and let's create a new method. This is a private method, so we can create it anywhere. Let's create it here, private void update subtitle. So report store report store equal to report store dot get activity int report count equal to report store dot get reports get dot reports dot size, and then I would say string subtitle equal to get string r dot string dot subtitle format that we earlier created, if you remember the 1% as, and then we just do a report count. Uh, so it is giving some error. Let me check it. So it is saying that it is expecting a string here while I'm passing an int. So I can solve it either by this, or I can solve it by going into the earlier format, and instead of s I write I, and then I think also this error should go away. So yeah, so let's work with that. So that's the how we have defined the format. Now final steps, activity equal to compat activity get activity, and then we said activity dot get support action bar dot set subtitle, and we pass the subtitle here. Okay, so the update subtitle function here is first generating the subtitle, and then it is setting that subtitle. So now we have to call this method when a user presses it. So we will go back to our switch statement, the earlier switch statement, and we will add a new case here. So let's add a case where r dot id dot menu item show subtitle, and then we will have to just call our method and return true. So that's it. Now let's run our program and see. Okay, so now we have show subtitle. Oh, it's crashing. So let's see why it is crashing like this. So you saw that crashing, and it crashed because I had knowingly put a bug here just to keep you on your toes. and the bug was the formatting bug. And let us see that even if you do not know what the bug was, then how to find it out. So as you see the error message, you say that it is an unknown format conversion. So where were we doing the formatting? So we were doing the formatting here only, and it is this I that is causing the bug. So let me convert it back to the S which I had earlier done. Let's come back to our previous code where we were adding it, and then see whether we are still getting the bug or we are not getting the bug. So do this time when we create show subtitle, nothing happens. So what it shows to you is that sometimes just removing one error by any means, and especially by wrong means, is not sufficient. Like we said that we could remove that stupid error that was coming by changing our format, but that was not the right way to do it. So be always be aware of the bugs that you put, and Android, as you see, gives you very good hint on where the bug could be. So sometimes these bugs are what we do not know, and sometimes it is that we make a mistake. So anyway, so now we can see the subtitle. Let's add some more functionalities, which would be toggling the action item uh, title functionality. So currently our subtitle is visible, and but the action item still needs show subtitle. It would be better if the action item is toggled its title and function to show or hide the subtitle. So let's add some more code. So what we actually want is that when we press, then we are already seeing the subtitle, so we want to toggle it. Okay, so let's go back and write some code. So we will go into our report list fragment. First thing we have to do is to define a boolean which will control the toggling. So this would be a member variable. So subtitle visible, and now we go to the on create options menu, and in this, after this, we will have to write some code which will help us in the toggling. So menu item sub. So we have to make sure that once we have pressed the show subtitle, then the toggling happens. Equal to menu dot find item r dot id dot menu item show subtitle. If subtitle, so if it is true, then subtitle item dot set title r dot string dot hide subtitle, else subtitle item dot set title r dot string dot show subtitle. Okay, now we have done this. We are using this small variable, so somewhere we need to manipulate it so that everything works fine as we want. So the place to manipulate it is obviously the switch statement. Yes, so here. So now just before that, I would say subtitle visible equal to the opposite of subtitle visible. So whatever it is, it will just do, and then we invalidate the options menu. So now this should be almost fine, and just a little bit of change in our update subtitle method. So basically we just want to make sure that if it is false, if m subtitle visible is false, then we are not making any mistakes. Yes. So yeah, so now you see that it is again showing the same error, that it is a wrong argument type, and it is saying it is expecting a string, but we know that Java can work with the int. So let's not worry about it. Last time in order to fix it we had made it as as. Now let's first run it and see what happens. So this is our show subtitle. I click, and this is hide subtitle. I click show subtitle, hide subtitle, show subtitle, hide subtitle. So now I can toggle the subtitle very easily. So yes, yes, and we can do that. So as you see, so let's see that currently it is 0 reports. Let me add first, let's say first result, go back, let's say another second, go back, let's say show subtitle, and let's say third, go back, show subtitle, let's say fourth, let's use the back button now to go back. Ooh, uh, so we'll start it. Oh, so I think I have in it. So yeah. So let's go. Let's press the back button. Oh, so we don't have anything because we are already there. Now let's see the subtitles. So there are 4 reports, and this is 5. And yes, so now you see that I have created the 4 reports, but when I press the back button, my subtitle value is not updated. My subtitle value, let's do it again. Let's create a 6, and instead of this back button I will press the back button. Instead of hierarchical navigation I will use the back button navigation, and when I do that my subtitle text is not updated, and let me hide it. Show, so now it is updated, but that time it was not updated. So there is a small bug here, and the second thing that we want to do is maybe to make sure that we add something, let's say 7, and then we go here. So this is 7 reports, but if we press the back button, okay, so we come back. Ooh, 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 ooh. So you see that there is a small bug that our subtitle doesn't update when we use the back button navigation. So we will be fixing that bug right now. Let's stop and write some code to fix that bug. So the first, let's go into our method called update UI, and in this method we will add a code update UI which will update the update subtitle. So now let's run again. So first title is correct, second, and you see that this time pressing the back button also works, because now we have added the right call to update subtitle in the update UI. So we are able to do the back, but let's try one more thing. Third, this time we'll use our hierarchical navigation. So 3 reports, and then we do fourth, 4 reports. So everything seems to be working fine here. So now let's see if we are making any mistake, or is our code complete. So one thing that we have ignored so far is, for example, when I add fifth and I go back, then I don't see the subtitle which I was earlier seeing. So basically here you see that I am seeing the subtitle here, but I move, I add another, I go back, I don't see the subtitle anymore. However, if I am again showing the subtitle and I add 8th and I use the back button, then I see the subtitle. So this is happening because in the hierarchical navigation and the way it is implemented in Android is that the activity that you navigate up needs to be recreated from scratch. So that's why the back button remembers it, but the hierarchical navigation doesn't remember it. So this is another bug that we need to fix here. So we will be adding some more code for that. So let's try one more thing. So we are seeing the subtitle, we rotate and the subtitle is gone again. We show the subtitle, we rotate and the subtitle is gone again. So there are two issues here. One is that we miss it when we are using hierarchical navigation, one that we are missing it when we are rotating it. Now the first one, that is to fix on the hierarchical navigation, is not very straightforward and we currently do not need that, so we will leave that problem here. But we will solve the other problem, that is at least on the rotation we should not miss it. So for solving the rotation is easier, let's go to the report list fragment, and first step is that we will create uh, a string, private static final string saved subtitle visible equal to subtitle. So as you may have imagined that we will be using a key value pair to pass this information, and then we go to the on create view, and in on create view we can, just before the update UI, we can say, so if the bundle is not equal to null, then title visible equal to saved instance state dot get boolean saved subtitle visible. And then further going down, after on resume, we will have to now implement the on save instance state method that we have been using for all our rotation related problems. So public void on save instance state bundle, we can just call it anything, let's say just call it b, super dot on save instance state b, and b dot put. So we had saved a boolean, so we are uh, we want a boolean here, so say title and subtitle visible. Now let's run our program and see that whether we are getting the right behavior or not. So we are showing the subtitle, and yes, the subtitle is visible. So we have solved that problem. For solving the more intricate problem of the hierarchical navigation, one way of doing it is to pass information about the subtitle visibility as an extra to the report pager activity when it is started, and then you will have to override the get parent activity intent method in the report pager activity class to add an extra to the intent that is used to recreate the report list activity. And this will require you to get some more information about to know that how the parent navigation thing works. So currently we are leaving it. Maybe later on we will come back to it. So far in this lecture you have learned about many things. So one important thing that you learned is that how to use the toolbar, how to create the menus in the toolbar, and also that how to toggle some of the menu items and how to use different menu items. So that is it. Thank you.